One.
You are listening to
Hello, everybody. What the hell did I just do? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show of yours. This is episode 542. I'm your host, Chicken Mick, alongside with me, the man, the myth, the legend. It's Alex.
It's that time of the year. We just have started putting out Halloween decorations. Oh, I'm so glad it's fall.
He brings the awesome. It's I yield to no one.
Yeah.
Sports Center update.
I'm being thrown off right now because things are getting glitchy on my end. And it is a personal friend of mine. I love this lady to death. She, I know she will always have my back no matter what the hell's going on. It's Miss Rowe. How are you, dear?
I'm doing well, thank you. And thanks for the invite. I always love crashing.
All right. I don't know if it's on my end or your end, but your video camera is a little pixelated and staggering. I don't know if that's an issue going forward.
Let's check. I'm looking fine in the Skype,
It
but
might just
you
be.
know,
It might just be my end. Let me mute my.
is it possible?
Let me kill my phone because it's gonna keep going off. I see Nitro in the chat. Nitro, how are you doing, sir? All right. So let's get started with the normal show. Well, first, how's everybody doing? Alex, how are you doing, sir?
I mean, I'm doing pretty good. Well, looking forward to fall. Like I said, I'm here with a good group of people getting ready to do some podcasting. I do have a little frustration this week because I'm trying to go back and get some PlayStation 3 trophies, which I'm not having much success with. But you know what? I'm not gonna let that faze me because I'm having a good time.
All right, Roy, everything's looking better. Yield, how are you, sir?
Well, I'm not doing bad. My Bengals won today, so we're no longer over. Ohio State stayed undefeated, and I am within 8 points in my fantasy football league, and I still got my defense to play tomorrow, so it's looking like I could win this week and stay undefeated in fantasy football.
And how's the Rayman quest going?
Well, I'm marching slowly but surely. I'm at almost 5,700. So probably by the end of October, I should have the platinum.
And also, before we go any further, we should probably say, let's do this before shoutouts. Don't we have somebody with a birthday coming up on this podcast?
I don't know. Somebody have a birthday?
I don't know. It isn't me or Alex.
Bro, is it your birthday coming up?
No, not till February.
I don't know anybody that has a birthday coming up.
Tricky, you're not going to take credit for this one?
Take credit for what? What am I taking credit for?
You have a birthday coming up.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
You don't want to tell people you're 42?
How do you know how old I am, first of all?
Because you told me the other day on the phone when you said you didn't want to edit on your birthday.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
Old man.
Tricky, are you going to just completely ignore the fact that you've run around the sun one more time?
Let me explain something to you, and I think
we all know how birthdays work, Tricky. We've all blown out candles on a cake.
I think there's only one person on this show who can attest to what I'm about to say, because Ro, was barely in her 20s at this point, so.
Bless you.
Once you reach over 40, you stop counting your birthdays.
Yep.
It took you
Big
that
fact.
long?
Yield, when did you stop counting?
I gave up probably early 30s.
Yeah. I mean...
No, I feel like at 40 is when you stop counting because you're like, okay, I have all the wisdom that I need. I actually give like this many Fs about anything else anymore, and now we're good.
I stopped counting birthdays when I noticed my first gray hair.
I go
Those are
with
fun.
my wife's uncle's mentality that what was it? Once he hit 30, I think it was, or 35, probably 30. Then he counted backwards to 20, and then turned around and counts back up to 30, and then just bounces back and forth.
I've been telling my daughter, I said I'm 18 with 24 years experience.
Anyway, you slice that. That's all just way too much math for me to do.
Yeah, I just did that math quick in my head. I don't know, but I just did that because I want to scare Alice because Alice is scared of math.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm really scared of math. I just don't like to deal with it because, like, I'm good at writing. I'm not good at mathing. So, I can do the basics, but once we start getting to the more complicated stuff, I just get lost in the woods.
Well,
I'm like tricky with English. I get lost in the woods with math.
Well, speaking of complicated, let's go into our complicated trophy list. I am level 684, total trophies of 16,818 with 373 platinums. Alex?
How are our trophy lists complicated? I don't know. I guess I'll complicate it here with my platinum count.
That's
level
exactly
4,
why.
it's not that much tricky. It's not that hard. If I can handle it, you can handle it. Level 463 with a total trophy count of 8,128 with a platinum count of 129 in 128 games. And, we got that Kena Bridge of Spirits anniversary update coming out, so hopefully I'll be added to a platinum to that here real soon.
Yield, what about you, sir?
Currently a level 479 with a trophy count of 8780 and a platinum count of 156.
And Sid is destroying us all because he is level 741 with 17,920 trophies and 529 platinums. He just will not stop, and I love him for it.
Would you say he can't stop and won't stop?
Can't stop, won't stop. And Ro, unfortunately, I couldn't put your trophy card on Twitch because apparently your trophies are private.
Yes.
I don't know why people do that. It aggravates me from a producer standpoint of trying to put this on Twitch. But what is your trophy count, ma'am?
If someone had told me beforehand that they needed it to not be private, I would have happily done so because there's nothing in the world that I wouldn't do for you, Turkey.
I know that.
But other than like get on my PlayStation more. So, so I'm a level 152. Go ahead, bring it. It's fine. With 522 trophies, no platinums.
Don't feel bad because you are definitely not the lowest we've ever had on the show. We've actually had a -1 trophy on the show.
Ouch! How do you negative a trophy?
Well, the story of legend goes is that we had a developer friend of ours who I'm gonna remain nameless because I want him to be able to be here to defend himself. Not that he would disagree with what I'm about to say.
We protect the names of the innocent.
And he was working on a game, waiting for something to finish loading, and decided to switch his PS3 dev kit over to a retail kit. Played Uncharted, popped a trophy, and was so ashamed that he popped the PlayStation trophy, he formatted the system before sending it to the internet. So we give him a -1.
Gotcha. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
All right, so let's get into what we're playing. Ro, I'm going to go to you first as I take my headset off and run to get my cigarettes because I forgot to do that. Ro,
Sure.
What have you been playing?
So I have been playing Deathloop. Just started that. Actually streamed it earlier today on my channel. I've also been replaying God of War because I love that game and I'm getting myself ready for Ragnarok. I'm also playing Stanley Parable, which is a lot of fun, and playing Saints Row, the new redo.
So, okay. We were all kind of planning to jump onto that and play some Saints Row, and as it turns out, once the press had gotten out about it and the scores came out, we all kind of paused on that.
Mm-hmm.
What's your honest opinion of the game? Like, how do you feel? Because it's been very mixed or very average.
It really has, right? And I think that it comes down to a couple of things, right? Like, if you've played Saints Row games before, and I'll say if you played at least 3 and 4, the reboot is 3. Which, frankly, for me, was my favorite Saints Row. Like
it's actually the only one I've ever played, but I think I got lucky because it seems like the prevailing opinion is that's the best one.
It is. I think that it is. It's the most Saints Row of the games, right? With over-the-top stuff, really balanced gameplay, and like a lot for what a Saints Row game is, right? Like it's a solid 10 hours to go through it, and that's if you're critical pathing it. And I think that if you like what the Saints Row games were about before they went to 4 in Crazy Town, right? Which was over the top fun, big old sandbox, just a whole bunch of shooting, not precise, but a whole bunch of shooting and comedy, right? It's enjoyable. I think that part of the reason why it's so mixed is because in the time between 4 and Gat Out of Hell and now, players are used to what Saints Row 3 did as unique in the time that it came out and 4 as unique at the time that it came out, and went, oh, this just feels like Grand Theft Auto Online, but less. And I think that's where the mixture comes in, because there's nothing groundbreaking about the game. But I don't necessarily think when games come out that they always have to innovate, right? Like if it's not broke, don't fix it. Give the franchise fans what they want. And I think that for a lot of people that enjoyed 3, that's where you see a lot of people saying, yeah, it's fun. It's a Saints Row game. It's just way over the top, silly, blow just shit up. Fun. Don't try to make it anything deep or anything that it's not, because it's not a revolutionary game system. It's not revolutionary gameplay. It's not anything that we haven't seen before. That doesn't necessarily make it bad. So for me, I'm enjoying it. I'm glad that I bought it. I've been playing a bunch of it. I am thoroughly enjoying the game.
Yeah, anybody that takes the Saints Row game too seriously is not playing it for the right reasons.
You're just not. Like previous games, you ran around town. My favorite weapon was the dildo bat.
I was about to say.
If you're trying to look for innovation, I think you're looking in the wrong place.
I was just about to say, we're talking about a game series that you had a 6-foot dildo bat, and you were beating people up with it.
Right.
Like
I have my dubstep gun from my collector's edition, like up behind me. Like dubstep gun kills aliens. Come on, people. Like, what are you looking for?
So, follow-up question. So based on what you said, Ro, do you think that some of these reviews, I'm not going to say all of them, but at least some of them are, people had expectations for this game, and when those expectations that were not met, scores went down?
I think that's absolutely a big piece of it, right? Especially when you look at, you know, the folks that are reviewing games, the folks that feed into Metacritic, you know, on the regular, there are expectations that you have, right? It's hard for me to sit here and say, okay, when I think of a Volition game, there's a few things that I expect to be checked off, right? When I think of, you know, a Naughty Dog game, there are certain things that I expect to be checked off, regardless of what the title is. And so I think, especially when you have so much time between a previous release and a new one, that the expectations that people have, part of it being driven by nostalgia, part of it being driven by, okay, we know what hardware is capable of right now. It's very difficult to bridge that gap of time with something that's going to solve for all the expectations that are built up in that window of time.
All right.
Yeah. Pretty thorough and pretty makes sense to me.
I put my thinking cap on for that one.
I mean, you didn't, like, we didn't even prepare you. You just had it on the spot. It was like a little mini review there. It's kind of like all you really need to know.
I mean, Alex and Yield, I know you're not in the Twitch chat, but Rose like just being adorable on camera, which is what I can only ask for her. Alex, what have you been playing, sir?
Well, hold on. Well, I still have the window up, the window up that has people's cameras on, so I can still see that.
Oh, okay. Well, normally you don't have the Twitch up, so.
Well, yeah, but I have the Skype. Like even if you minimize Skype, there's still like a little mini window up there in the top right of your computer.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because I can't use my camera on Skype, so I just apparently because XSplit and Skype they don't want to share the camera. So, all right. So, Alex, what are you playing, sir?
Well, as I said, actually, I gave a little shout out to Riley and to Nitro. We played some Rocket League this past Thursday, and we were doing really well. We started like 4-0, 5-0, so we were just like murking people. And then, overall, we took a few losses, but at the end of the night, I think we ended up with a nice winning percentage there. More wins than losses, which I'll always take in Rocket League, given how that game plays. So yeah, a good night on Thursday with Nitro and Riley. Other than that, mostly ever since completing the Castlevania Anniversary Collection on PS5, well, for PS4, but on PS5, mostly, going back and downloading some old stuff on the PS3. Played a lot of Shatter this week, which I don't know if you all remember Shatter back on the PS3. A brick-breaking game. I've gotten all the trophies in that game except for one. It's the boss rush mode. You got to beat all 10 bosses in under 10 minutes, and I got to 12:35, 12 minutes 35 seconds, and I just can't seem to get any lower than that. So I think I got to take an L on that, and that's just gonna be a trophy that I don't ever get. But going back and playing some of the Simpsons, Double Dragon Neon. What else? Just trying to clean up some stuff. But mostly what I found is a lot of those trophies I need some help with. I need at least a second player. So, wah. But I'm at least down after I had to format the PS3 because Ashley accidentally earned a few Dragon Age trophies while my profile was up. Didn't sync to the internet, so I was able to knock those off and reformat the system. So I've just been re-downloading games that maybe I can go back and play and get some trophies.
All right, Yield.
Oh, let's see here. I've been playing some Rayman Legends. Been playing some World of Warship Legends. Lego City Undercover. Maneater. Zombie Army 4 Dead War. Deep Rock Galactic. I think that's it.
All right.
A little bit of everything.
And I have been playing, obviously, the Division 2. And I had to stop playing Valhalla because I reached a certain point and it seemed like the only available missions were the DLC missions, which I'm clearly not ready for. And that was it. I mean, we had the normal missions of, go get the hunters. There's another word for them. I can't remember off the top of my head. Go get the hunters, build up your community. But there was no hey, this is the story mission. Go do this. So I don't know if I missed something. I need to unlock something. But I've done all the raids. I've killed all the hunters I can kill. I just don't know what to do anymore. So I had to stop playing it. Can't tell you anything else because that's all I've been doing. All right, so let's get into our topics.
Tricky is also ready and waiting for God of War Ragnarok because I feel like everything that you're going to be doing up till then is just kind of piddling around with games you've already played until you can get your hands on that sweet axe. Are you going to start with the axe, or are you gonna spoiler get the Blades of Chaos again from the start?
I don't know.
Because that's the thing is in sorry if I'm ruining this for anybody, but in the God of War, the first game of the Norse line, you could get the Blades of Chaos. I wonder, because that was a nice surprise, but I wonder if they're going to do that again because the surprise is already. It's surprise is it's already up. You can't surprise people like that twice.
Yeah, I would assume that you're going to have everything back. I mean, what I did like with the 2018 version is that they didn't do what they did in the other games and immediately strip you of all your powers and you have to go back and do it again. Because in all three games, you had to, the first game, obviously, it was your story arc to become the God of War. Then at the start of the second game, they take away all your powers and you have to earn them all back again. Third game, same thing. Even on the the Vita games, you had to do. But this one is no, you're a badass from the start, and we're gonna keep you that way. So I don't see them doing that, but who the hell knows?
I would like to say another weapon from the God of War Greece timeline that I would really like to see. I don't know if you'll remember from God of War 3, the Nemean Cestus. I realize that's a very Greek thing, and you get it from Hercules, but it'd be really nice to be to take those kind of gauntlets around and just beat the crap out of things in Norse mythology with those. So if they're going to do another surprise weapon, I really would like it to be that one.
Nitro says, I must be doing something wrong in Valhalla. Clearly I'm doing something wrong. I just don't know what the hell it is.
Yeah, Nitro's your spirit guide there for that because he spent more than 300 hours playing that game.
Yeah. I happened to look onto the Division because it tells you how long you've been playing that game. Anybody want to guess at how much of my life I spent playing the Division 2?
We're talking hours, right? Not days.
No, we could talk days.
Well, can we start with hours and then we'll convert to days? Because again,
Math.
Math.
Yeah, math.
Yeah, see, there you go. Ro already knows.
Well, I don't. Okay, I'm gonna bring it up if I can quietly, but I don't think it tells me hours. I think it just tells me how many days I've been playing it.
Well, to be fair, we can figure that out. We can do the okay. So I've got to pick days. Hold on. Let me convert how many hours I think you spent playing to days.
That's where
okay.
you need some traveling music.
We need some Jeopardy music going on here. Okay, so I have a guess as to. I think that you've played north of 800 hours, so I'm gonna say 33 days.
33 days. Yield, you want to venture a guess?
I was gonna say 60.
60 days. Row?
Dude, you're in that game a lot.
I am in it a lot.
I'm gonna cut in the middle, and I'm gonna say 54 days.
Okay. I'm bringing it up as we speak. I'm sure you can hear it over the microphone as it's logging in. But last I looked, it was 122 days.
I thought you Yield way overshot with his thing, but even he was like off by like a fourth.
And I was the closest.
All right, Price is Right rules. You take it.
122 days.
Tricky, do you play like in the kitchen when you're cooking, and also like have a setup in the bathroom when you got to go to the bathroom? Because I've never played a single game that much.
122 days, 4 hours, and 18 minutes.
So a third of a year.
Basically.
Ubisoft needs to be paying you for something. I don't know what. But
Yeah, you should be an influencer for them for that game. Just saying.
Well, ironically, I've applied, and I never hear anything back.
Because they already know that you're a mark for it, and you'll play regardless.
I've applied for the betas. I've applied for everything. No.
Yeah, I don't think I've played another game that much. I mean, Animal Crossing is probably gonna get up there by the time I stop playing that game. But yeah, that's congratulations, Tricky. That's quite a milestone.
Absolutely.
I think it's clear to say I like the game. So
I hope so, because if you're doing that, you're just a masochist.
Nah, I just think you're a casual person.
and Yield has spent 0 days in the Division.
It's not true. I played Division 1.
Yeah, but you have 0 days total.
Oh.
Meaning you have less than 24 hours.
Total 24 hours?
Well, no, hold on. He may have like 0.25 days. You know, that's a fraction of a day.
Yes.
Shouldn't we count that?
We should. All right, so let's see. Oh, Rose in the chat, Nitro's in the chat, and Felicia's in the chat. Nitro says, if I go to the table in my base building and go there and select the area you want to work in, I will do that. And I do know what table you're talking about. But what we should be talking about, Alex, you brought up birthdays before. Well, we have a birthday for a very lovable PlayStation icon.
And I'm wearing that shirt today. Ashley made me a shirt for the lovable bandit raccoon, the holder of the Thievius raccoonus, and I felt like celebrating.
Sly Cooper is turning 20. This is coming from the PlayStation blog and is written by Andrew Goldfarb, formerly of IGN. I didn't know he was over at PlayStation now. It says, today we are so happy and a little bit shocked to celebrate the 20th anniversary of Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. Where does the time go? Originally shipped on September 23rd, 2002 for the PS2. This was Sly's original venture, known as Sly Raccoon in some parts of the world, and our studio's first ever PlayStation game. I'm trying to look to see if there's anything else in here. A lot of people have left some comments.
I bet all the comments are like, where's the new game?
There's people going, hey, congratulations. There's nothing really in here. I mean, there's Sly Cooper shirts you could buy on the PlayStation Store.
A plushie. There's a plushie.
And there's a plushie. Yes, there is a plushie.
Is it just Sly? Because if it's a Murray plushie, if it's the whole gang, I would probably get all three. But
It's just Sly.
It's just Sly.
They need all three. Bentley and
I
Murray.
think there's also a poster.
Yes, there is a poster. I'm going through this right now, so.
No. The shirt's pretty cool. I tagged Alex in it when I saw it.
He did, yes. I can confirm that I got not a message, but I got a little poke from Yield and saying, hey, you should probably look at this. and some really cool artwork. Like, I think the poster, it's the inside of like a police building where Carmelita is chasing Sly slowly up the to the roof, and it's got room by room all the action in it. So it's pretty nice.
Fun fact: she actually had 4 different voice actors for all 4 games.
Carmelita
Yep.
Fox. Yep.
Yep. The same voice actor was for every other character, but hers changed every game.
Yeah.
All right.
I will say that, when you think of like Nintendo games, like someone tells you like Mario's this old or Pokemon's this old or Zelda's this old, you're like, yeah, that seems right. But to think that Sly Cooper is 20 years old is just madness. And I got to be honest, I wish that with some kind of milestone like this, they would have planned a little better, because this is worth celebrating. And I already feel like Nintendo took full advantage of the Mario anniversary a few years ago. They didn't take near enough advantage of the Zelda one last year, but at least they kind of do a better job than Sony, because I feel like Sony is willing, as we know, to remaster and remake games, but I feel like this is one of those of anniversaries they just kind of let drop. It's cool there's a shirt, it's cool there's a poster, but you could do more for Sly Cooper. People really like Sly Cooper, so you couldn't line this up with a game. I mean, come on, Sony.
All right. Well, the poster is $25 US and estimated ship date of December 2nd. There's a shirt that features Bentley, Murray, Carmelita Fox, and Sly himself. It is a 100% combed ring spun cotton shirt. I don't know what the hell any of that means. And it features a 20th anniversary logo on the right sleeve, and it will be available for $34 with the ship date of December 2nd. And the plushie, it doesn't say. Shipping worldwide next year. Okay.
Yeah, big miss for a really big franchise. But I've felt for like a long time that like Sly is, as a franchise, just hasn't gotten like the respect or love that it really should. It
really is a good game.
It's a really good game, and to be honest with you, like the moment that a new Sly game popped off, I would be firing that up in a heartbeat, because I had so much fun with these through time. So I think that it's a big miss. Like when you have games that have longevity and a fan base that's still with it, looking forward to it, enjoying it, creating more in the mythos after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, that's something that's respectable, and you should do something to earmark it and treat it as special as it is. So I agree. It's a really big miss, but it wasn't given the respect that it should.
Because I think Thieves in Time was 2013, or was it 2012?
I feel like it was 2012.
It was a while ago. So it's not like, with those franchises, even with Ratchet and Clank, Sony's done a really good job of spacing everything out. Because since 2016, we've only gotten 2 games. So, but Sly, like, I realize it's a second-tier franchise for them. It's not going to be one of those every console franchises, and I'm fine with that. Every other would be nice, though, because Sony's got enough developers to hand it off to somebody, or if you want to pay a third party, like a third party, and be like, hey, can you guys make a Sly Cooper game for us? Sanzaru Games, relatively unknown, at least to me, when they made that game, did a really good job with Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. Like Rose said, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I actually think it's probably my favorite one aside from maybe 2, because I love Sly 2, Band of Thieves. I like all of them, but I thought Sanzaru, not being the original developers, like, they did a really good job. So I'm sure that Sony could find somebody to hand the franchise off to, and who would treat it with love and care. So, hell, even like go to Blue Point. I know Blue Point's working on something new, but we couldn't have gone to Blue Point at some point and be like, hey, Blue Point, we love you guys. You treated Shadow of the Colossus oh so well on PS4. Can you give us another Sly Cooper? Can you do that for us? And they would make a great Sly Cooper, or even Ready at Dawn. Like, come on, Ready at Dawn after Order 1886, you couldn't have made a new Sly Cooper?
Well,
They couldn't have made anything.
Well, it seems Sony is making something. Coming from InsiderGaming.com, Sony is set to launch a new PlayStation 5 with a detachable disk drive, sources suggest. The PlayStation 5 is set to get a unique overhaul in the middle of fiscal year 2023, with the new console launching around September 23, sources say. Sources familiar with Sony's plans have shared details under the condition of anonymity. Why did I just fucked up that word?
Anonymity.
Outlining the next iteration of the PlayStation 5, it has been suggested that this new console will completely replace the A, B, and C chassis that have been in production with the console's launch. The console, currently named the D chassis PlayStation 5, will have almost identical hardware to the existing consoles already on the market. The most surprising new feature will be the new PS5 is that the console will have a detachable disk drive. The detachable disk drive will be connected to the PlayStation 5 using an extra USB-C port on the back of the console. It's understood that this new PlayStation 5 will be sold on its own or in a bundle with the detachable disk drive. It's also understood that the disk drive can be purchased separately, so if it gets busted, there's no need to buy an entirely new console. Now, I'm not going to keep going. Yield, I already know how you're going to respond, but I'm going to give you the floor first. What are your thoughts on this? Because you are the physical console of the group.
Well, I mean, hey, we totally didn't address the fact that we didn't have enough consoles at launch. So now we're going to make a newer console because the old one was too expensive for us to make, and we're going to jack up the price so we can make even more money. It doesn't entirely bode well for Sony. The idea of a detachable hard drive is kind of a nifty idea for those who may want to, maybe you want to do physical, but yet you also dabble in digital, or I don't know. It seems like a nifty idea. I don't entirely know how to fully put it to words other than it's a nifty idea. But I don't know. I just feel, I know you still got to push the company forward, but on the heels of the fact that you severely undersold the fact that your console was going to sell so good, and I still have yet to see a 5 in the wild, that you're now coming out and going, hey, we're going to make a new one. It just, I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me.
You have completely surprised me because that's not the way I thought you were going to react. I thought you were going to say this is stupid right off the start.
Not entirely. I'm not overly thrilled with it, but I'll give them props for the detachable hard drive. Other than, like I said, I think it's a nifty idea.
All right.
And I don't know why. Otherwise, yeah, it normally is something I would say this is totally stupid. But
Yeah, you completely surprised me. Ro, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I guess I would want some clarification, right? Because when you talk about a detachable disk drive, is that physical media or a detachable hard drive? Because those are two different things.
It just says detachable hard drive. That's all it says.
I say detachable hard drive, not disk drive.
The way I see it, and I could be 100% wrong with this, the way I see
maybe I said it wrong.
Is think of like you buy a PC that doesn't have a CD drive.
It says detachable disk drive, Tricky.
I know it does.
Oh, you said hard drive.
Yeah, so that's different.
Did I say hard drive? I apologize. If I said hard drive, I apologize. That's just a Freudian slip.
You said hard drive in answering Ro's question.
Oh, did I say disk drive in the article?
Well, yeah, 'cause that's what the article says.
Okay. The way I look at this is nowadays when you buy a PC or a laptop, they don't come with CD drives in them, and that you buy an external Blu-ray player or a CD drive. That's the way I'm thinking of this, is that they're going to sell basically the digital-only PS5, and if you want, you could buy this external disk drive to play, which I'm just going to say this now, also means that anybody that bought the digital-only console that's currently on the market, it sounds to me like this portable disk drive is going to be able to work with that PlayStation 5 as well. So Alex, if he decided to, go physical for the rest of his generation, it doesn't sound like to me like he has to buy a new console. He could just buy this disk drive and move forward with that.
He would have to have the new console because unless the consoles we have a USB-C port in the back, then you would need the new console so you could plug it in.
Well, they have a USB in the front.
But is it a C?
Yes. There's two.
Yeah, there's a C in the front. So there's a lot of things that I would say that I would want clarity on here, right? So thank you for that, right? Because I agree. I think that if the detachable drive work with the current gen PS5 digital only box and this new box that they're making, and they're selling it separate or as a bundle. I think that that's a really good idea because, you know, for some folks, getting into digital is still prohibitive, right? Not everyone has high bandwidth broadband internet accessible. So not everyone has unlimited data on the high broadband that they have, so they get capped, right? So we're still in a space where being able to pick up physical discs and play games is very important to a big chunk of the player base. I think what's really important here is to understand, like, does this disk drive only work with a USB-C port on the back because of data rates that they're sending? Like, if it's different hardware, and let's say it's the higher spec USB-C that's on the back and it's not the same as the port that's on the front, that's a problem, because then what you are saying is, hey, if you wanted to be able to go digital and or disc, well, you got to buy a whole new box for that. So that's what I would really want to understand. And looking at the article, that wasn't clear to me. I think that giving people more options is great. Where I get concerned is when you start making your SKU plans really difficult for people to understand what they get, what they don't, and versus what they want, then you're asking for problems. And I get even more concerned when you haven't been able to meet manufacturer demand for what already exists in the market. To spin up a whole new production line for a new SKU gives me heart palpitations.
All right. Alex, your thoughts?
See, I think this is Sony trying to do two things. I think one, it's them trying to, instead of having two consoles, it's them trying to simplify. So you have the one console, the all digital console, and then you have the ability to plug in a drive if you want to play your disc-based games. So I think they're actually trying to simplify it and instead of trying to have two different models. The other thing I think they're trying to do is slowly get people used to not having a physical console, like a console that you can just put a disc in, like the physical model of the PS5, in your home. They want to say, okay, let's get you an all digital one, but we're going to have this attachment that's going to let you play physical games. It's getting people just creeping a little bit further towards being more digital instead of being used to like having a box to plug in and being able to put a disc into that box. I think it's them creeping forward towards the all digital future. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I worry with this because if this is true, and again, this is all speculation and rumor at this point. Let's just be clear about that. My concern with this is we all know a PlayStation 5 Pro is coming. Just when's coming out. I think it was last show or the show before that we speculated when we thought. I thought it was going to come out not until 2025. But it's if you're doing this is 4 SKUs in the life of the PlayStation 5. You have the 2 that are out now. You're going to have the new one that's coming out, you know, if the rumor's true. And then whenever the Pro comes out, are you now going to do 2 SKUs of the Pro? Or you're going to do 1 SKU of chassis D, whatever how they're calling it?
Well, tricky. If they're going to have an attachment that can allow you to play physical games, I assume the physical version of the PS5 that plays physical disc is going to go away.
Well, if I read more of the article,
A, B, and C chassis are going away. Period. If I understood it right.
Yeah, that's what the article said. Is that they're speculating that Sony's expecting sales to really push in the next fiscal year, and that if this is true, chassis A, B, and C are going away. Which I don't understand what A, B, and C are, because there's not 3 models of the PlayStation 5 on the market right now. Oh, actually there is, because they redesigned it with the article that I didn't talk about. Apparently there was an article somewhere saying that quietly Sony changed the way the PlayStation 5 on the market now and to cut costs, and it was a little bit of outrage because they're saying they're cutting costs, but yet they're still raising the price of the PS5. So
That's why I said what I said.
We did mention it on the show. It's just you'd said that it was not substantiated and it was based on what a YouTuber, and we didn't want to present it as fact if it wasn't confirmed.
Yeah, I still don't have any information to confirm whether or not it's actually a good source. It's from a leaker, and I know we do stories on leakers and stuff like that, and we're actually going to talk about Grand Theft Auto 6's leak in the next topic. But I don't know, like, I think this could be good. I think it's good to give options because I know there are people out there that, like the PlayStation Direct, you can go on right now, or they may be sold out now. You can go on right now and buy the Horizon bundle for both the disc version and the discless version. And I know there's people that are waiting because everybody seems to be buying up the disc version and they're waiting and saving their money. They don't want to buy the digital version. They want the disc version. So they're not buying what's available on the market right now that they can get directly from PlayStation. So I think this is a good option because now, if it's true that this portable disc drive can be used on current discless versions of the PlayStation 5, I'm so afraid I'm going to say dick.
Well, you just did.
I know.
Throw fear out the window. It just happened live on Twitch.
I had to say it because I'm sitting here in fear I'm going to say it. Anyway, I think it helps now that if this is true and the portable disc drive now I'm stuttering. It's going to work with current models. I think this now allows people to go out and buy it, knowing that in the future, for what I can only assume is going to be $100, you could buy this portable disc drive. So it's good. We don't know if it's true. It's all rumor. It's all speculation at this point. But I think this is a good move by Sony. I just don't know if it's the right timing for Sony to do this, being that the fact that they just raised their prices. And Nitro in the chat says this is just a cash grab like The Last of Us.
Nitro is always one to. We're not getting back in that conversation, Nitro. You're not going to push us in that direction.
No, he's just trying to troll.
I think he does it very well.
But he's a very observant troll.
I don't know how everyone else feels about this. Like, I feel like in life it's good to have options, but when it comes to video game consoles, like, I kind of wish just each console maker would just have one model, like the X, the S, the discless PlayStation 5, the disc-based one. I like just put out one, like, because when it comes to video games, like, you can do PC, you can do Steam Deck, you can do Switch, you can go PlayStation, you can do Xbox. Like, there's a ton of options when it comes to video games. So each console manufacturer having their, like, numerous different SKUs, I kind of want to get away from that and just simplify it for everybody. I don't know if everyone else feels that way, but this is one area where I want more simplicity, is less SKUs.
See, but what the counter argument to that, the devil's advocate that I will make to that is, I think by releasing the two different SKUs by both Microsoft and Sony, they can now look at which version sold more.
Where's the industry going?
And gauge where the
industry's going. It's very clear where the industry's going.
Well, okay, let's say we all feel like it's going to digital only. But if you look at the market and let's just say the disc version outsells the discless version 3-1 or 4-1, Sony can now turn around and say, okay, we're not ready to go to all digital the future. This is how we plan to make the PlayStation 6 or future consoles. This is a way for them to gauge and say, okay, more digital versions are being sold. Okay, then we know that we can take that leap. But if more disc-based ones are being sold, they can say, okay, we're not quite ready to go there because people aren't ready to give up their physical media.
I mean, go look at stores like Best Buy, Target, their video game areas have shrunk. Physical, like GameStop, not doing super well. I guarantee we're already at the point where digital media outsells physical media. And let's be real, I'm gonna call everyone's bluff on this. No one's gonna stop playing video games because physical media dies out. No one. You're like you can say, like, look at Activision and all the trouble they've had legally and be like, yeah, I'm not buying any Activision games. I can understand that. You can cut out a publisher or developer or whatever. No one's gonna stop playing video games who's been playing for their entire life because they can't buy physical media or physical media is not as accessible.
I would argue that they won't stop playing games, but they won't move to your newer consoles if they're not offering that, right? Like there are so many regions and across the globe where people can't be all digital yet. And so if you jump to an all digital, there are whole markets that you leave behind that are very much disc based. So I don't think that we're at a place that like we can be all digital everywhere for everything. And I think that if this disk drive thing is true, that it is going to be a dipstick test that Sony uses, because if they move more of the digital only boxes because they're upselling people to buy the external disk drive, that is their marker of, hey, we can move this lower SKU and reach those folks who rely on disc base, right? Because yes, GameStop is not doing well, but I think if you look at like big box retailers, Walmart's still selling games. They're still selling discs. They're still selling retailers out to E3 to find out what's coming to disc and what isn't, to figure out what they're going to stock. The same is with Best Buy. Even though that is smaller, I would argue that it's probably smaller based off of where you are and the stores where you are looking at, versus I think probably like in a metro area, probably don't need to have as large a physical disk space display. But in a more rural area where people are relying on satellite, dial-up, and whatnot, disk is probably ruling that space still. So it'll be interesting to see, one, if this is real, and two, what it actually does for their sales, even with their SKU moving up in price.
See, and Chaos brings up a point in the chat. He says, bro, referring to Alex, he says, you're so wrong. A lot of people's internet is capped or super slow. So there's countries out there where there's an internet cap. So, I don't know what realistic caps are, but I just saw a story saying that God of War Ragnarok digital version is going to be over 100 gigs. Just to download that one game. I don't know, realistically what the cap is, but let's just say the cap is 100 gigs, which to me sounds a little low, but, you're downloading one game and then you can't be on the internet for another month. So.
But let's be real. By the time the industry wants to move to streaming stuff or like all digital, like movies and music have gone, the rest, like there are areas of the world that still won't be caught up to that. There are parts of rural America who will not be caught up to that. So it's going to be a thing where, yeah, sure, like there are still places in the world where physical media is going to be a thing, but not everywhere in the world is going to be caught up by the time this shift happens. Let's be real. Do we expect that to happen? Everyone to get caught up?
I mean, I can't confirm this, but didn't we talk like a year ago that the PlayStation 3 finally got to Brazil? Like, that's crazy.
I don't remember that.
Say again?
So I don't remember that.
I could look it up, but I'm not going to. All right, so
no, that's fine. I'm just saying I don't remember that conversation.
Some things from the chat. Chaos says, just saying, I bought The Last of Us on the PS3. I refused to get it on the PS4, much less the PS5. Bro, you are missing out. The PlayStation 5 version is so damn good. Felicia says...
Okay, then.
Felicia says, yeah, but I like watching 4K Blu-rays on my PS5. Having it as a movie player is a selling point for her. And Nitro says, would Alex rather be compared as a cash grab, just like Shadow of the Colossus?
Man, like I said to on a recent podcast, the PlayStation 4 version of that game is the definitive version of that game. So, you know what? I'm glad they put it out. I don't care if there was an original release before, a remaster. If people want to call a game a cash grab, that's fine. But if you're a Shadow of the Colossus fan, I don't care if you played it on the 2 and the 3. You owe it to yourself to play it on the 4 as well. So.
All right, last thing before we move on to our next topic. Chaos now says, if they move too early, then they will lose a lot of customers. Parents not about to pay data overages just because their kids want to play a game. That's true.
I think the bad mark on this whole thing, and I think that we can all agree on this, was that you had the article come out that, well, and even we said it was kind of not officially confirmed, but still, that Sony's making the 5 a little bit cheaper. They've been able to find it, which is what they need to do as a business to make money. But shortly after that kind of leaks, not official, but leaks, then they turn around and announce a price hike and now they're turning around and going, hey, we're going to announce this new console. It just, like I said, it just feels kind of wrong. Kind of like they're doing the PlayStation 2 era of Sony, where, oh, you'll just go get a second job to buy our console.
That was PS3, yeah.
Oh, that was PS3? Okay, I'm sorry. PS3
Yeah,
era.
because everybody wanted the PS2, and then when the PS3 came out, it was when they were trying to transfer over to Blu-ray, and there was that whole HD war, HD versus Blu-ray. You know, Microsoft originally was backing HD, and then you had Sony doing Blu-ray.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the porn industry with Blu-ray, that's what won out.
Well, also Disney went with Blu-ray, didn't they, too?
Yeah, but
Yes.
like I'm saying it as a joke, but the reality is, and Ro can back me up on this,
It's the truth.
it's back when
So goes the porn industry. So goes the winning media.
that was what happened with the VHS versus
And Betamax.
Betamax. The porn industry with VHS, that's who won. The porn industry with Blu-ray, that's who won. Like, I say it as a joke, but it's true. It's 100% true.
No, you're not wrong.
And then, okay, last comment, then we're moving on. Nitro says, like The Last of Us, he's never played Shadow of the Colossus.
You know, I'm not going to drag you through the mud for not playing Shadow of the Colossus there, Nitro, but I would say that I would recommend it to everybody. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, but at the same time, I think you owe it to yourself to play a game that is so very unique. And
I think we got that free for Plus, didn't we?
Shadow of the Colossus, yes.
I don't think it's ever been. I don't think it's ever been free for Plus.
Or was it Ico we got free?
I don't think they re-released a combo of the two, but I don't think Eco was ever free for PlayStation. I could be wrong.
I can
but-
I,
Maybe that's the
I
one
can
I
tell you
got.
for a fact I got it for free because I never bought Shadow of the Colossus and I have it. So we got it for free somewhere. Felicia says it's been on PlayStation Plus, and Chaos says laughing his ass off. Microsoft always trying to do things their way and they lose every time. We're just gonna move on because that could be a very dangerous conversation to have. Next topic coming from PushSquare.com. EA has announced a Iron Man game in development at Motive Studio. This is a quick article, so please go give it a click because I'm going to read the whole thing real quick. Developed in partnership with Marvel Games, Motive Studio, which previously made Star Wars Squadrons, is currently working on the Dead Space remake, is in charge of the new game, which will be a single-player, third-person action-adventure starring the Armored Avenger. In a post on its official website, the publisher says the game will feature an original narrative, quote, that taps into the rich history of Iron Man, end quote. Though not confirmed at this point, it seems as though the game will be unrelated to the 2020's PSVR title, Marvel's Iron Man VR. Marvel Games' Bill Roseman says he's thrilled by the partnership and that they aim to deliver a love letter to the legendary hero in the form of the Ultimate Iron Man video game. The unnamed game is in pre-production right now, and it'll be quite some time before we see this come to fruition. And then they ask, are you excited for this new Iron Man game? I'm going to start this off by saying I love Iron Man. I personally think he's my favorite Avenger, but I am so worried about this game. Anything being made by EA just scares the shit out of me.
So
Well-
I would like to say, while I share Tricky's concern and also enthusiasm for an Iron Man game, we're about 6 years too late.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, because this would have been a good opportunity to capitalize during Phase 1 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Now we've moved on. We're on to a different phase of Marvel, but now we're making all the video games on that phase. And if it's a good game, I'll play it because I like Iron Man. But it feels like we're chasing our tail on this. You get what I'm saying?
But I mean, just to ask this, I mean, do you think that Insomniac releasing a Wolverine game, like, you think that's out of timing?
No, because
Yeah.
Wolverine has always been popular, whereas Iron Man's popularity has skyrocketed because Robert Downey Jr. owned that role in the MCU. So I think that, if you don't have Robert Downey Jr. being Iron Man, I think that the character automatically loses a lot of the luster. But again, like the X-Men and Wolverine were always kind of at the forefront of Marvel, whereas Iron Man not so much. Like I feel like Iron Man's popularity, like Thor, skyrocketed with the MCU.
All right, Ro.
I can agree with that. And I'd probably say like a 60-40. No, I can't remember how I was going to say it. Never mind. Go ahead, Ro.
No, I was just gonna say I agree with Alex, right? Like I have been a Marvel comic girl for a very, very long time, and I love the Iron Man books and the Thor books. So I was really excited when the MCU Phase 1 movies were being announced and coming out. And I agree. I think from a perspective of hitting while the iron is hot, that's when you really want to come out with themed games, right? Like I loved Iron Man. Very few people love Iron Man. How do I know? Because the movies are not canon and everybody still loves them because they love Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. That's their recollection and their connection that they're making. And he, spoiler alert, super spoiler alert, he didn't make it. So to have a game coming out 3 years from now, 4 years from now, that is an Iron Man game where we're going to be in Phase 5? Definitely feels like a missed opportunity. Like it's planned to play on nostalgia, and it's not going to have Robert Downey Jr. involved because he said he's done with that character, right? So what are you grounding it in to try and have success with it is like my question. And then you throw on that it's coming out of EA, and I'm just like, just my face.
Well, all right. Let me try to bring some hype to this.
Okay, try.
Right,
go ahead.
You go ahead.
But I'm gonna be clear. I'm not exactly convinced of this myself. Okay.
Well, no, because it's got anything with EA behind it. You always got to take with a grain of salt.
Okay. There have been speculation and rumors that somebody else was gonna take over the Iron Man role, and
they're not gonna make that game.
No.
Clear.
I'm saying just assuming this game doesn't come out until, let's say, 25.
Mm-hmm.
That is right around the time that we're going to get the two Avenger movies back to back. We're going to get the Kang Wars and we're going to get Secret Wars back to back. And if they introduce a new Iron Man at that time, this could line up together and bring new hype for the game.
Pause right on that. Which Iron Man? Because if we're talking about Ironheart, with the reaction that people have had to Halle Bailey's Mermaid, that game really not gonna have a chance.
I'm just putting it out there. And like I said, I'm not exactly convinced myself. But
because then you'll have a mismatch. Because like even from the image that they showed, which like again, this is all the speculative stuff, right? But that is not Ironheart's suit. So it's not an Ironheart Iron Man game. So then you have an even bigger disconnect because if the Iron Man I'm seeing happens to be a black female and your game is a white dude in the suit, you don't have a connection.
Okay.
From a marketing perspective, I'm speaking just as a general marketer here, right? That's a really hard line to push.
Yeah, but you have no background in marketing, so you don't know what you're talking about.
Well, she makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, what I just said was a joke. Because she actually has like a very big background in marketing.
Oh, it's what I do. In games. So, like, it would be a really hard
EA
push.
Could hire you.
I can tell you for a fact, Ro would never work for EA. I'm saying that so she doesn't have to.
Thank you.
Ro would never.
It's not recorded. I just had a good drink.
Ro would never, ever, ever work for EA. I can tell you that for a fact. All right, moving on to our next story here. Where are we at? Okay, so this article is going to spark a little bit of a conversation, and let's just not get too off the rails on this, please.
I already hear the train rocking.
Yeah, I do too. I was actually worried about putting this in the agenda, but this is actually one of the few topics that I had before I asked the community. Coming from IGN and written by Ryan Leston, the Splinter Cell remake will be rewritten to be more relevant to a, quote, modern day audience, end quote.
Uh-oh.
A job
That's
listed
never
for
good.
a scriptwriter spotted by PSU has revealed some details about the upcoming Splinter Cell game, and it looks as though it's going to get a rewrite and update the original. Excuse me. Quote, using the first Splinter Cell game as our foundation, we are rewriting and updating the story for a modern day audience. We want to keep the spirit and themes of the original game while exploring our characters and the world to make them more authentic and believable, end quote. I am going to stop there because I don't think we need the rest of this. I fear this is going to have major backlash because there are a lot of people wanting to say, hey, don't fuck with the story. This is why we love Splinter Cell. There's going to be people that say, don't upgrade it for a modern day audience because there are too many snowflakes out there and we don't want snowflakes in our Splinter Cell games. And
That was a nice way of saying that.
I thank you. I plan to say that way for 2 days now. However you feel about society and what's going on in the world today, there's no denying that that video games are art, and you can't tell an artist what they can and cannot put in their games, which is why we had the major backlash with The Last of Us Part 2. People felt like Neil Druckmann was being political in his game. There's politics in almost every game. Regardless, and there's politics in your TV shows, there's politics in your movies, there's an agenda. I mean, you're not going to get away from it. But I want to go to Alex first because I've gone to other people first all show. But I worry that they're going to update the story because regardless of how you feel about society, you don't fuck with the game. This is why people love Splinter Cell. And Alex, I'm going to go to you, and I'm going to ask you, what do you think about them updating the story? And go from there.
I don't know exactly what they're doing to the story to update it, but I will say we live in modern times, people. Like, I had nothing wrong with what Neil Druckmann put in The Last of Us Part 2. I think that it was a learning experience for me because personally I had no idea what dead naming was. And it was, like I said, it was a learning experience for me. So, I mean, updating it for modern times, we live in modern times. If you want to live in 1999, find a time machine and do that. We live in 2022. Get over it. That's without knowing specifically what changes they have to make or what they have to, the use of the word snowflake and like, I don't know. I don't see the problem with updating something towards the current year we live in just because you don't like some political aspect of the world we live in. Whether it's the advancement of some people or more rights for other people. Like, what is the issue with this that other people have?
From what little I've seen, and I haven't seen a whole bunch of this because I haven't really, and to be honest, I haven't really looked into it too much, but they're worried about, and I hate to say it like this because it's going to make me sound so bad, but, they're going to make Sam Fisher's daughter a lesbian. Because
what's wrong? What? Who cares?
Oh, hold on. Let me finish. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But there's going to be people that say this is not who the character is. And Ro kind of brought up the whole controversy with Little Mermaid. There's some people that say this is our story. This is what we know. Don't fuck with this. And to some point, just personally, I hate it when some bands remake songs. Like, this is a classic song. Don't fuck with it. The same could be said, is that if they make a change like making Sam Fisher's daughter a lesbian, there's going to be people going, you're fucking with the story. She wasn't a lesbian. Why does she have to be a lesbian now just because this is the social norm, so to speak?
Well, then do we have a problem with making a traditionally, like, what people had seen as a white character, having someone who's black portray that character? Because, I mean, you're along those same lines, is what we're talking about. You can't change the source material because people want to get up in arms. Because, I mean, at that point, like, they can say that it's about we have an issue with you changing the character, but what they really have a problem with is the sexual orientation of that character. You know, it's kind of the argument, Civil War, oh, it's states' rights. Well, no, it wasn't states' rights.
All right. Chaos in the chat says, LOL, they just made Superman's son gay. People were livid. And then he says, laughing his ass off, we're about to have a White Panther too.
I don't have... If they want to make Sam Fisher's daughter gay, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me.
And to be clear, I have not heard that. I'm just throwing that as an example. I want to be clear.
So I mean, like, again, like I said, we don't live 30 years ago, although some people would probably like that. We live in 2022, and things are going to get updated. Whether or not you agree with what Neil Druckmann put into The Last of Us Part 2, people in real life deal with that. So you kind of have to face that, unless you want to bury your head in the sand and pretend like you're still going out, you know, in like listening to A Flock of Seagulls in a modern nightclub in the 1980s. Like, you're gonna have to deal with these issues whether you like it or not. Am I off base here?
No, you're not off base at all. Ro, just wanted to let you know before I let you speak that Kaya says he loved your face. He's laughing at it because Ro made a white face when I said White Panther. Ro, the floor is yours, dear.
I mean, I would probably watch it, but so here's the thing, right? Because like Splinter Cell was the franchise that made me fall in love with action shooters. And for me, like the last Splinter Cell game that I really enjoyed was Conviction. And so when I read that article, what I heard was, hey, franchise fans, we're going to remake the game. And we're going back to the first Splinter Cell because we kind of screwed the pooch with the last one. We get it. It went way like not where you wanted it to be. We heard you. We're sorry. But we're going back to that old one. And that old one, actually, if people remember playing that game, had some really kind of nasty stereotype stuff in it as far as like Cold War and different government. I said it. Government agencies, spy agencies in particular, because that's the Tom Clancy game. So there's going to be some government and there's going to be some politics in the game. Tom Clancy. Anyway, so we're going back to that one and we're using it as our foundation and we're updating it to current times. So I'm thinking, okay, we're going to have missions that are going to be probably set more in areas that we currently know to be hotbeds of counterintelligence stuff. That's what I heard. Not necessarily Sarah's going to be gay. But even if she is, I don't really care because to me in the games, Sarah is Sam's motivation for doing stuff and doing things kind of sort of counter to third echelon, but also sometimes in line with them, right? So regardless of what those reflective of the newer times are, being, oh, I don't know, maybe more women actually showing up in positions of power in third echelon as opposed to the majority dude fest, like those are all things that I think are good. Is it probably going to be more representative of the diverse nature of folks who are actually working in counterintelligence? Probably. That's probably not bad. So I think it'll be interesting to see as this continues to move forward and we learn more about what that new modern take is. Of course, there's going to be some people who are ultimately pissed about it. I'm still pissed that Assassins went, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I loved Origins. I loved Odyssey. Don't love Valhalla because it went like completely right, left, right, down to Albuquerque from what got me into the franchise and what made me fall in love with it to begin with. Games evolve. They change over time. This is, even when the games suck, a good thing because they spark other innovations and they spark other stories and other storytellers. So it's kind of hard in a bucket to just hear, hey, we're going back to Foundation, but it's a remake, so we're going to make it modern. Doesn't necessarily mean everybody's going to be bi and you should just accept it. And there's probably going to be a drag queen in there who's going to be fighting as, you know, like an undercut. Like, we don't know what it is. So just relax and enjoy the ride. That's all I had to say about it.
Yield.
So, I'm intrigued by a new Siphon Filter because I've never been able to play any of the Siphon Filter games.
Siphon Filter.
Not Siphon Filter.
Splinter Cell.
Sam Fisher. Splinter Cell. Sorry.
I know you want you to do Siphon Filter games. You say it every year.
Siphon Filter game. But when you say, it was in the wording of how they word it that kind of makes me go, I wonder what you're meaning by saying that. There will be the people that they just want, when you announce you're remaking a game, they expect it to basically be like the original. Shinied up, prettied a little bit, but it's I guess really it is a true remake in the sense that you're retelling the story, but you're telling it in modern times. Maybe that's how they should have came out and said it. It leaves itself open in their description for all kinds of, and maybe they're doing this to drive up hits for their game, but it drives up all kinds of people arguing about what modernization of the story that they mean. But I can't speak too much on it because I've never played it, and since Ro has, that would be your best source.
Well, I think it's really important that we choose our words carefully, right? Because there's a different expectation when you say that we're doing a remaster or we're doing a
remake.
Well, before you even get that, like a port, right? A remaster versus an updated port versus a remake, right? Because remake to me says I'm remaking this game, which that opens the door to do all kinds of stuff. Characters shift. Characters go left or right. I don't have to be canon. Woo, remake, right? Whereas a port is literally like, I'm taking this game, I'm putting it out over here. I'm putting it out on this piece of hardware because it didn't exist before, but now it does. So whoop, it's a one-to-one. And I think it's really important that we understand what a port versus a remake versus, a remaster, what all of these things mean. But I also think that they're probably so early in the development phase that's probably as specific as they can be right now, especially when they said and the game's coming out, in the far future. They could literally have just signed paperwork to be like, yes, we have all the approvals, legal's good, we can do this game now. Woo! Everybody, let's start making a game. And they may not have a story yet.
All right.
They may not know what the game is going to be itself. And so that's where I'm kind of like, well, if you don't know what it's going to be, why say anything at all? And it's because all of us over in the Splinter Cell camp have been looking at every Ubi forward going, please Jesus today? Please Jesus today?
Mm-hmm.
How about today? Please Jesus? Please Jesus.
Well, I know somebody that's reaching out for Jesus right now, and that's a 17-year-old from the UK who's been arrested. As we talked last week about the Grand Theft Auto 6 leaks. Apparently, a 17-year-old has been arrested in the UK. There's been an update to the story, but let's go to the original story. This is coming from PushSquare.com. While developer Rockstar has moved to confirm that this weekend's unprecedented GTA 6 leak will not impact the game's development, you can rest assured that the relevant authorities will be hot on the case. And a recent incident with Uber, allegedly instigated by a group named Lapsus with a dollar sign as in their name, suggests that the FBI and the U.S. Department of Justice may already be involved. In a statement on its own issues, Uber, I don't know why we talk about Uber, but I guess we'll get into that in a second, said, quote, "We believe that this attacker or attackers is affiliated with a hacking group called Lapsus, which has been increasingly active over the last year or so. This group typically uses similar techniques to target technology companies, and in 2022 alone has breached Microsoft, Cisco, Samsung, NVIDIA, and Okta." I'm sure that's probably a different way to say that, among others. There are also reports over the weekend that the same actor breached video game maker Rockstar Games. They are in close coordination with the FBI and the Department of Justice on this matter and continue to support their efforts. It should be noted that Uber appears to be connecting the dots here and seeing this as a criminal investigation, and unlikely any firm word on the perpetrators for quite some time. Nevertheless, numerous members of Lapsus has been arrested in the UK as recently as March of this year, with one notorious 16-year-old alleged to have amassed a $14 million fortune through the hacking. The update to the story is the City of London police has confirmed that it's arrested a 17-year-old on suspicion of hacking. It's being reported that this is one of the same individuals behind the recent Rockstar incident. The individual is currently in police custody. First of all, I don't think this is Uber as in, like, the company that drives people around. So, maybe that's just my ignorance, but I don't know who Uber is outside of that. Oh, this is Uber.com. Via the PlayStation Lifestyle.net. All right, so a 6-year-old getting $14 million fortune through hacking. Do his parents not know that he has $14 million somewhere?
Do they care?
I
mean, real question. Like,
I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Do you really want to ask that question of, like, where your kid got the money to buy you that car? Or are you just going to be happy to drive that car?
Don't ask, don't tell.
Listen, if my daughter popped up and said, "Hey, Dad, here's a new house," I'd be like, "Where'd you get that money?" But that's just me. Alex, so apparently they're going after the hackers and they're finding them. Floor is yours, sir.
I mean, hacking is kind of one of those gray areas where there are people you see, like, Anonymous going after Russia for what they've been doing in Ukraine. You see Anonymous kind of apparently sending out warning shots to Marjorie Taylor Greene, that they're going to come after her too. So there's some hacker groups that do some, they do some of the like the Robin Hood, steal from the rich and give to the poor. There is some good being done by people who are hacking. Then there are also people who do very dangerous things when it comes to hacking. And when it comes to, like, intellectual property theft and all that kind of stuff, like, governments and the companies have always wanted to crack down on it. So it doesn't surprise me that they're, going after people regardless of how young they are, especially when the money total is that much. And if you figure when someone that young, the parents would have had to have set up a bank account. And if the parents are smart, they will have, their name attached to that bank account so you can monitor how much the kid is spending, what's going in and out. Like, so it just doesn't seem like unless he was just giving them money, like, hey, I'll buy you a new car or something like that. Like, I guess they were just blissfully ignorant. Like, they just weren't paying attention at all. Because you couldn't, unless he had his own checking account, which I couldn't imagine a parent would set up for a teenager. Just their own checking account that, they would set up willy-nilly. Yeah, it would have to see something going on, or even notice that the kid was buying expensive clothes or electronics. Because if you're a kid, you're not going to just sit on 14 million or however much it was. You're not sitting on 7-8 figures. You're going to be spending money on new cool stuff, bleeding edge technology, whatever, fancy clothes. So I don't know how they could have overlooked all of this, but there seems to be, unfortunately, as we learn about parents in the new day, a lot of parents out there aren't doing a good job of parenting their kids. So
okay, two things. One, I just looked it up. Uber apparently is the company, the taxi service. Apparently they have a news division as well. I did not know that. And second, let's also not forget that allegedly, and I'm putting out there allegedly, Anonymous was behind the old PlayStation hack that knocked the network down for over a month. So
I'm sure Anonymous has done a fair share of shady shit. They've also gone after other people who do shady shit. So it's kind of like, it's I don't want to say pro and con because that just makes it sound too lighthearted. But yeah, I'm sure that we could all find very bad things Anonymous has done, but also, going after shitty people like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't mind that. Go ahead, all day, every day.
All right. I mean, we can agree that this is not a victimless crime. There are victims in this. Ro, I'm going to give the floor to you.
Sure. So, the GTA leak was, like, hard because that really sucks. And it was a lot of data, right? And I think, like a lot of people, I love hacktivism when it's benefiting someone and against an evil, right? And there are a bunch of people who would make a case for big corporations, bad, evil. I'm one of those people. But I do think that in this case, right, pursuing the folks that are going after data like this and going after big IPs like this and releasing source code, which is proprietary, right? Like, it's not that it was just trailers that were released or graphics that were released in stills, right? Because you can recover from that. But when your source code, which is your proprietary thing that you make your money off of, gets out in there into the world, like, that can be detrimental to a business. And so I think that when you're dealing with instances like these where you have proprietary data with somebody coming in from the outside who isn't supposed to be there, who isn't supposed to have access, but gets it, takes it, and then puts it out into the world, there does have to be repercussions for that. And there should be, regardless of how old you are, right? And also, we live in a technological age, so like, it's very easy to hide things from people if you don't want them found. There are so many systems out there right now that, you know, let you, like Venmo, Cash App, like so many different places where you can go and hide and pocket money. And let's not even get into crypto, right? Like, it's possible, although I really don't know how, because I don't know at 14 or 17 that I would be able to have any kind of thousands of dollars, let alone millions of dollars, and not make it very clear very quickly that I had money. But it is possible to hide things from parents. And we do live in an age, you know, like Alex said, where not everyone is as connected with their family units and as tapped in as we'd like them to be, right? We can see that in the news with, you know, kids who are doing harm, that are self-harming, that are being bullied, and no one knows that those things are happening, or other things that are going on in the world, right? So I hope that all of the organizations are actually able to get a hold of everyone that was involved and actually hold people accountable. Because I think that's one of the things that overall we miss, is that accountability. And hopefully that can help to be a deterrent in the future. Because when there is no accountability, there's just victims.
All right, Yield.
I really haven't followed the whole GTA 6 leak. I don't know what all is involved. When I first saw it popped up, I was just kind of like, okay, big deal.
No.
You know, I'm like, some screenshots got leaked or whatever. I like I said, I'm totally. If you want to fill me in, you can.
Oh, that's right, because you missed last week.
Yeah.
I think it was like over 90 videos were put out there. It's a very rough version of it, but we have an idea of what the male and female protagonists are going to be. They're kind of like copying themselves off of a Bonnie and Clyde. Basically, it was confirmed that it is going back to Vice City. This was a massive, massive leak. And it just sucks for Rockstar, because all the hard work they put in, they can't reveal their game the way they wanted to. That somebody, presumably this kid, allegedly, let's just put it out there, allegedly, that this kid went in and leaked like 90 different videos off of, and I don't know if this has been confirmed, but I think he hacked into their Slack, which is like, if anybody that doesn't know what Slack is, that's basically like a Discord for businesses. I think that's the easiest way I can explain that. But he hacked into their Slack and was able to get all of this data and leaked it online. And this was, like I said, I don't want to undersell this. This was a massive leak, like the biggest leak of any video game ever.
Well, and he also got some source code as well.
Yes, he did.
So source code I'm not cool with. I mean, not that it's really cool to hack anything, but I saw some articles pop up that, oh, this is a major blow for Rockstar. And I'm like, everybody knows they're working on another Grand Theft Auto. And there has been rumors that it was going back to Vice City. So I guess to me, staying in the dark about this, I could care less. But getting the source code out there, he should be prosecuted, because, like Rose said, that's what they make their money on. Someone could take that and hijack it, so to speak. So that's bad. But the videos and stuff, yeah, it does ruin it. But if you got a good marketing person, you can spin it in your favor.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, and because I followed this, but I didn't really follow it. He didn't release the source code. He kept that for himself and decided to hold that for ransom, right? He told Rockstar, if you want this back, you have to pay me a certain amount of money, which I don't even know what that was. So,
ransomware, and it was a nice big number.
Yeah, so he hasn't released the source code. He just released the videos, but he said that if you want the source code back, you have to pay me whatever it was.
Or he would release it.
He would release it. I wish I could get Jeff on the phone, because the last time I remember doing an article, and it just happened to be on the week that we had Jeff on the show. We were talking about the source code. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe he basically made the remark that having the source code is a big deal, but there's really nothing you can do with it unless you had other parts. And I really don't want to misquote him, and I don't remember what episode, so I couldn't even go back to reference it. But having the source code obviously is a huge thing, but there's not really what the hacker could do with it other than just say, hey, this is the source code, put it out there, and then other people, as the internet does, put shit together and could really demolish all this hard work that Rockstar's put into this. Felicia in the chat says, the videos cost Rockstar money too, and so would a marketing department to spin it, which they should not have to do as they are victims of a crime. Absolutely, I agree with that. But yeah, this sucks. It really does suck. I'm not an overly big GTA fan, but I am a fan of, you're putting a lot of hard work into shit. It's also good to see the community come out. I mean, Neil Druckmann put out a tweet, says it sucks when this happens, but it, after a while you just put your head down and you keep working, and it doesn't bother you as much anymore because you're still putting out the product you want. It just sucks that somebody ruined it for you. So it hurts initially, but over time, the pain will go away.
Well, I mean, go ahead, Yield.
I don't have anything to say.
I thought you were going to speak up. Rockstar has commented on this since, and they've said that nothing is changing about their development, and they're going to keep on as they would. And another good thing, you could assume that the game's going to sell like crazy.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I don't think I'm not trying to downplay the fact that someone got to their source code, but they're not changing up their development schedule, and the game's going to sell really well. So in the end, they'll be fine. But as someone who works with really expensive IP, people being able to hack into it and get at it is an extremely big concern. So, yeah, if you're going to mess around with hacking, you deserve whatever comes to you legally. So yeah, I get it. But the good thing that has come out is that they have said, Rockstar said that the development's not going to be affected in any way. So that is something good we can take out of this situation.
All right, let's move on, just in the interest of time, to our last story before we go into our topic of the week. This article is coming from IGN, but I'm not going to read the article. I'm just going to read the tweet and the headline. This article was written by George Yang, and the name of the article is EA CEO thinks that Call of Duty going to Xbox exclusive could benefit Battlefield. Now, I'm going to say, just be transparent here. I don't know if we said this on the show yet, but Ro, you actually work for Xbox, so if you you work for Microsoft.
Don't make a comment.
No, I'm just gonna say, don't say or do something that could endanger yourself.
Hell no.
But there was a quote by Andrew Wilson, and I'm gonna read the entire quote. He says, "I don't think we delivered in the last two iterations of that in the way that we should have. There's a lot of work we got to do there, but at its very core, it's extraordinary. It's an extraordinary IP, and what we've seen in the world of entertainment is that a great IP is resilient. And we've seen movies, not live up to the expectations of franchises. Star Wars might be one such franchise, and then you can see what happens when you get the right creative team involved, how they can completely reinvent and grow a franchise. And I think we have an extraordinary creative team involved in Battlefield now. We have unbelievable ambitions to own the first person shooter space, particularly as it feels to creation. And in a world where there are questions as to the future of Call of Duty and what platforms that might be on and what might not be on, being platform agnostic and completely cross platform with Battlefield, I think, is a tremendous opportunity. Now, what I get out of that is saying that, hey, if Call of Duty does go Microsoft exclusive, this could help Battlefield because we're still going to be cross-platform and cross-play and all this other stuff, and we have the potential to sell more copies of our game now that PlayStation people cannot buy Call of Duty anymore. That's what I'm taking out of that statement. Ro, I don't know if you want me to go to you or do you actually want to comment on this? I understand if you don't.
So here's what I'll say, right? I'm speaking specifically and only as a consumer and a fan of games. I hate exclusivity, right? Because from a marketing perspective, like, you want to be able to deliver everywhere so that you have more people available to buy your product, right? That's why you want to localize stuff and have it in as many languages as possible so people understand what your thing is so they can get it. At the same time, you also want the thing that makes you a differentiator, right? So in marketing, as just a general marketer, if you have things and everything is an apples to apples comparison, then how do I give you a reason to want my Apple versus the person next to me's Apple versus the person next to them's Apple, right? I think that Battlefield, the last one, sucked. I played it for 20 minutes and was like, nope, and I was out. So anything that happens to make it better, I'm all for.
2042, was that Battlefield's last game?
I think it was 2042.
2042. Felicia says, LOL, they will still need a better, more complete game than 2042. Now, Alex and Yield, I know you guys don't play first-person shooters. I don't think you've ever played Battlefield, at least in its recent iterations. Yield, I'll go to you first. Do you think Battlefield now will stand a chance in the first-person shooter market if Call of Duty does go Microsoft exclusive?
I mean, just make a better game and you don't have to worry about Call of Duty.
All right, Alex.
EA.
I mean, because he's admitted that it doesn't sound like that you know, their last game or last couple of games weren't the greatest, and that he's got a great creative team, and that, you know, yada yada blah blah blah. If you make a good game, you don't have to worry about if Call of Duty is an exclusive or not. You know, I kind of read into it as he's trying to position himself into a, hey, look, if Call of Duty goes exclusive and PlayStation people can't play it, well, hey, we're going to work on a really good game and we'll be cross-platform and you guys can still play together. Maybe I read too much into it, but if you make a good game, you don't have to worry about the competition.
All right, Alex.
So it's nice to know that EA has been waiting this long to make another good Battlefield game, you know, until potentially the biggest competition is exclusive to one gaming console. No, I mean, if Microsoft were to take Call of Duty off of the PlayStation, it doesn't automatically mean that EA is going to make a better Battlefield game. And let's be fair, Battlefield has been around longer than Call of Duty, and Call of Duty is now still the preferred, kind of like wartime shooter, combat shooter. It overtook Battlefield because there's been a lot of stumbling blocks in EA's development process of numerous games. Basically, the quality hasn't been there, and Call of Duty's just been a better franchise, a more reliable franchise. So, you know, EA's like, hey, PlayStation, don't worry, you still got Battlefield. And then Jim Ryan's over here like, oh my God, we cannot lose Call of Duty. Oh shit, no. So yeah, EA saying that, like, sure, you may sell in that situation, you may sell more games on PlayStation because people don't necessarily have that military shooter if Call of Duty were to leave, but that doesn't inherently make your game better quality. So yeah, do something more with Battlefield. Do a better job with Battlefield, and maybe you'll shine a little brighter. But this is not going to allay Sony's fears about potentially losing Call of Duty in like 6-7 years. They're still gonna be worried regardless of what EA wants to throw out there, because people really don't have the greatest opinion of EA right now, and my opinion of them is potentially going to be very positive or negative going forward, depending on how Dead Space is in January.
All right, and just because I like to poke the bear, Ro, feel free to not answer this question. Do you honestly think Call of Duty is going to be a Xbox exclusive?
I'm not answering that question.
Understood.
Why do you ask questions you know?
Yes.
I just wanted to poke the bear a little bit.
Yes. Why, you don't even have to ask the question. Everybody knows the answer. Yes.
All right. Well,
It would be a smart move.
Okay. Well, we do have another question, and it is coming from the community.
Time to check my social media, yeah.
All right, Matt G wants to know, what is your favorite free-to-play game that is not Rocket League? Alex, we'll go to you first.
Pokemon Go.
Yield.
I guess World of Warships. Legends.
Ro.
Warframe.
You
don't have one.
No, because my favorite game is not free-to-play. I'm gonna say
the only free to play, and
like
the only
a third of a year in it.
I'm gonna say
the only free to play game you play is Rocket League.
No, I'm gonna say Clash Royale.
No, you do play that one?
I do play Clash Royale, and I play Clash of Clans too, but I prefer Royale over Clans. All right. With that being said, we are gonna throw it across the pond to our main man, Sid.
Hello again, my friends. It's that time of the week again where I sit and talk to myself and try and make it sound coherent. So, welcome to Sophie's Trophies. This week, guys, we have Flat Kingdom Papers Cut Edition. It is a rat plat. But this is an interesting game. There are some good ideas in it, guys. The basic story is you live in a flat world, think Paper Mario type thing. There is a bad guy who has kidnapped the princess, think Mario type thing. And he's making the world 3D, think any other Mario. The game doesn't play anything like Mario, but I just thought I'd point out those similarities. So, the idea is, guys, you play a little thing called Flat. And by pressing the square, triangle or circle button, you can turn into a square, a triangle or a circle. Now, the square, he's good for pushing blocks, and he's heavy so he sinks in water. Triangle can run really fast. And circle can bounce or jump. They're the buttons, and you have a jump button which is X. Pretty simple premise, pretty simple gameplay, but it's quite interesting the way they put it together. To get the platinum, it doesn't take too long. You only have to go to the 3rd level, I think, but the levels are quite big. And the bosses are pretty well done as well. So, we have, as always, guys, the platinum shape. And then we have Fear My Sharpness, which is beat a circle enemy. So, I need to tell you guys, enemies have different shapes. And it will be shown next to them what shape they generally are. So, a rat is a triangle, a spider is a circle, that kind of thing. So, a circle is beaten when you're a triangle.
Why does it have to be spiders?
A triangle is beaten when you're a square. And a square is beaten when you're a circle. I think. Something like that. I'm sure it's that way round. But anyway, that's the general gist of it. So, Fear My Sharpness, beat a circle enemy. Flat Smash, beat a triangle enemy. Don't Be Square, beat a square enemy. Okay? Then we have shaping up. Use your 3 forms to fight. So just use each form, kill an enemy with each form, and you will get that. Rookie hero. Finish your first side quest. The first side quest in the game is to go and get a key. So you go and get a key and bring it back. Too bad. Get 1 game over. A long way to go. Activate the first checkpoint guard. Simple, just walk past them. Salad to go. Defeat Plantosaurus. So this is your first boss, guys. It's a good little boss. He's in the middle of the stage waving around, and you can jump on him. He's got like a circle, and you can stick to that circle. So you need to jump on him, stick to it, and then change to a square so you bring him down, because the square is heavy. Then change to a circle and he will fly off to the other side and bump his head or whatever it is, and then he will open up his plant base in the middle. There is a triangle on it, so what you need to do is jump over it, turn yourself into a square, and you will hit the triangle. And do that 3 times and he goes bye-bye. Shapeshifter. Change your shape 10 times. Very simple. 8-legged freaks. Defeat Arachne. Now he's a giant spider and
I'm out.
you will have to dodge his front legs as you climb platforms up to the top of the level. Once you reach the top of the level, there is a big block that you need to jump up, press square above, and you'll force the block down into his face. And then you need to dodge some enemies while the block resets itself. Again, do that 3 times and you will defeat the spider. Complicated foes. Defeat an enemy with 2 or more shapes. So this is in the second stage when you get there. It's very simple to do. I think it's a crab, guys, I'm not sure. But I think it's a circle, so you hit it with triangle. And then it's a square, so you hit it with circle after that. Something like that. I must say, you don't actually hit things, you can just walk into them as long as you're the opposite shape to them. And then we have learning the ropes. Get your first special ability. So there you have it. That is Flat Kingdom Papers Cut Edition. And I really like this one. I think it's a good little game. Well made. It looks nice, inoffensive, easy to run through. And there you go. That is it. That's it from me this week. And I will talk to you next week. Keep getting those trophies, guys. Bye.
Sadly, I own this game, but I'm never going to play it now.
Why? It sounds just delightful.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Don't be a sissy.
Yeah, you know what? I don't care what you have to say. It ain't
Yes, you do.
happening.
Listen, I'm with you on the spider thing. Like, nope. That's why I'll never touch grounded.
Alex and Yield just do not understand. They're like, oh, it's just a digital spider. Does not matter.
Nope. Big ol' nope. Just hold on. Nope.
Does not matter. Oh, you're being a big baby. Nope. No, I'm not.
I don't believe I've ever called you a big baby for it.
You
I
have,
just point-
and I have text proof of it, sir.
I just like to point out that you recognize that this spider cannot hurt you. Like, I have a fear of snakes, but if I see a digital snake, I beat the Phantaconda in Resident Evil 6, and just in my mindset, people look at things differently, and I think that if you can discern that this thing is no threat to you, like Tricky doesn't look like looking at pictures of spiders, you can discern this thing is not a threat to you. You can kind of back down the fear a little bit and say, okay, reasonably, I shouldn't be afraid of this thing because it's just a picture. It can't hurt me.
And
It can emotionally damage you.
And I've explained to you many times, it's not the I last in fear. It's the emotional shock of seeing something like that, and basically like having a mini heart attack.
How did you ever get through Uncharted 3?
I basically closed my eyes and just jumped. And apparently Chaos agrees with us because he said, "Shit, when I saw that spider in Grounded, that was a big hell nope." let me just put it this way. What's the name of the game right now? Oh, why did I just blank on the name?
Limbo.
Limbo. Thank you. I walked across. That spider leg came out the right side of that screen, killed me. I was like, I'm done with this game. I'm not even going to attempt. And that was a black silhouette of a spider leg. And I was like, oh, hell no, I'm out. All right. Now that we've explored our arachnophobia.
Yep.
We're
Trauma is real.
We're going to move on to our topic of the week. And it's coming from IGN.com and is written by Adam Bankhurst. The article's title is U.S. Homeland Security will spend $700,000 to investigate, quote, radicalization, end quote, through video games. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has awarded nearly a $700,000 grant to terrorism and security researchers to investigate video games. As reported by Vice, the funds are headed to Middlebury Institute's Center on Terrorism, Extremism, and Counterterrorism, the nonprofit organization Take This, and a company looking to curb toxic online behavior called Logically. Quote, over the past decade, video games have increasingly become the focal point of social activity and identity creation for adolescents and young adults. Relationships made and forces within games ecosystems routinely cross over into the real world and are impactful parts of local communities. Correspondingly, extremists have used video games and targeted video game communities for activities ranging from propaganda creation to terrorist mobilization and training. End quote. One of the goals of this new project is to develop a set of, quote, a set of best practices and centralized resources for monitor and evaluation of extreme activities, as well as a series of training workshops for the why can't I speak? You know what I'm trying to say. Detection and prevention of extremists in gaming spaces for community managers, multiplayer designers, lore developers, mechanic designers, and trust and safety professionals, end quote. The announcement notes that the video game studios of all sizes, in many cases, are not fully educated on how these extremists may try to exploit their games in an effort to radicalize the players. White nationalists have unfortunately found a footing in this space, as there have been groups on Steam who were openly espousing neo-Nazi beliefs and worshiping school shooters in the past. Steam has attempted to remove these groups, but the people behind the Want This grant wanted to go further. Take This, Dr. Rachel Cowart and C-Tech's Alex Newhouse shared some of their early findings at this year's Game Developers Conference, and it confirms that the initial focus will, quote, lean towards white nationalism and white supremacy, end quote. Hopefully their efforts will make some lasting change in this industry and beyond. This effort comes in a time following the racially motivated mass shooting in Buffalo, New York, that was broadcasted on Twitch and saw 10 people killed and 3 more injured. I didn't realize the article was that short, so I'm going to just tell you to go give that a click. Again, that's coming from IGN and is written by Adam Bankhurst. Yield, I'm going to start with you, sir. What's your overall opinion on this?
Pass.
Pass as you don't want to make comments, or pass and you don't want to, you don't think this should be happening?
Both. Pass as I'm not talking about it.
Okay, Alex, we'll go to you.
All right, so I was trying to listen. Sum it up for me again so I don't go off on a tangent and then...
Basically, they're spending $700,000 to look into video games that could promote white supremacy and basically terrorism.
I don't have a problem with that. Whatever funds you think you need to allocate to get that shit out of here as best you can, you're never going to get rid of it. I mean, my God, we're in 2022, and it still feels like something we see, like the supermarket in Buffalo. You're like, man, how does all this happen in 2022? Well, it's fucking always around. Unfortunately, I don't know that we're ever going to get rid of it. But yeah, like any media that promotes that white nationalism and shit like that, get it out. Seek that out and fucking destroy it. however you need to. It doesn't need to be a part of our society. It's fucking hateful. It's awful. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Ro.
So,
Again, don't get yourself in trouble.
oh, I won't get myself in trouble. I like getting paid. So, the important thing is any place that you allow people to congregate, especially in a somewhat or pseudo anonymous way, is going to be a place where great conversation and connection fosters and not great connection and conversation fosters. And I think that as we have seen with a lot of things over the last 2 years, with groups organizing in discords and on online forums and in lobbies of video games, that the pervasiveness of closed door meetings that used to happen in person have now permeated on the internet into this space that's supposed to be a break, at least to me, from reality and fun, and have come in, which means that we need to look at it and treat it the same as the things that we look at to search for terrorist activities to be aware of, and to try as much as we can to prevent bad things from happening before they happen. Personally, I think that $700,000 is way too little to start if you really want to make any kind of impact. But it is at least a start. I think that it is great to know that there are at least organizations that are actually working with reputable organizations. I love Take This. I love the work that Take This is doing. I know Dr. Rachel Cowart personally. I'm a Take This ambassador. There are so many resources and so many studies and a lot of research that the org has done on mental health as it relates to games, where they can actually be a viable resource to identify different behaviors, look for different talk, look at, different games where things are known to proliferate. So I think at the end of the day, doing the research, doing studies, and at least understanding that this is happening in this space and wanting to look at it to try to do something at the end of the day is a good thing.
I can't put it any better. That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah, she was far more eloquent than I was. But I agree.
I can't even add to it.
Same thing. I said the same thing.
I can't even add to it. Like you said it perfectly. The only thing that I will say about this is, God, I don't want to say this because it's going to come out like an extreme hot take.
Go ahead, do it.
You're going to have the people that are going to say, this is censoring. You're going to have the people that are going to say that.
I don't think you're going to have people that say it's censorship, because you're not going to be told, like, let's be real. No one's being told that they can't say stuff, but you are going to have people say that this is an invasion of my privacy.
Well, I was, yes, but I was also going to go down the lines of how I mentioned earlier that video games are art, and you can't really tell an artist how they should express themselves. Now, let me be clear. I am 100% against terrorism. I'm 100% against racism. I'm 100% against, any kind of bullying or anything like that. But on the same token, there are going to people that say, like, this is how I feel. You're stifling my creativity. You're censoring me. And I think that's going to be the pushback. And again, let me be clear. I don't give a fuck about that. Because if you turn around and say that you want to make a white nationalism video game, at that point, I don't give a fuck about how you feel and you feel like you're being censored. You should not be making shit like that. So I could care less how you feel about your quote unquote rights being infringed.
Right. So, like, here's what I would say to that, right? Because I'm with you. I mean, fuck a terrorist, right? But I would say, if you want to make a white supremacist game, you can. Absolutely. It's your right. Like, if that's the art you want to put out into the world, you can. However, you can't expect for your game to be marketed, to be easily acceptable, because different marketplaces have their standards that you, if you want your game or your thing to be into, to make that happen. I don't think that this is necessarily looking at the games themselves, but looking at the things within games, like the lobbies, like chat, like party chat, like companion apps, where people are gathering and having conversations that are outside of the game that itself is happening, right? Or looking at spaces like a Discord, as an example, where there's all kinds of Discords out there, and there's all kinds of woo-hoo out there going on in Discord, right? Being able to identify what are the hallmarks that we should look at in these game spaces where people can congregate and have voice chat, word chat with each other, and have these conversations and start bouncing back and forth and creating plans and those kinds of things. I think it's looking at that more so, and not necessarily at a postal or a game itself that is pushing those things, right? Because people are making those kinds of games and those kinds of stories and making the cuckoo nut stuff, but game stores aren't putting them up, so they're having to self-distribute. And so therefore, they're not necessarily reaching mass market. Those are still to be worried about for sure, but that's, I would think, more on the fringe than the folks who are creating a private lobby in a shooting game who are glorifying school shooters in that private lobby, talking about it and then talking about what they would do or take it. I think it's more so looking at that than making a school shooter game, which is also fucked up and wrong.
All right. Yield, I'm just going to go to you to see if you want to make any comments. I don't think you do, but I just go with you, see if you want to make any comments.
No.
Okay. Fair. I just don't want to censor you, that's all. Alex, do you have any further comments before we close out the show? I know you hate that I play devil's advocate on that. I know you do.
Well, I mean, quite frankly, I will say that if there's anyone who's going to look at this and make content based on this stuff, wants to cry about it and say, "Oh, we can't stop these ideas. This stuff is, unfortunately, I think, ingrained in our society, and not just our society as the United States of America, but just all around the world. And there's just some ideas you can never extinguish. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't do as much as we can to limit them. And, like Rose said, there are certain games that you're never going to see on Sony's PlayStation Store. You're never going to see Nintendo marketing and stuff. You're never going to see Microsoft be like, oh, yeah, we'll help you publish this game. No. But I still think you should try to crush these ideas as best you can. And quite frankly, if you're going to sit here and say, well, you're inhibiting my ability to sell this game, or you're inhibiting my ability to make this game or perform my art, if you espouse these ideas, I don't give a shit. You don't like it, move to a fucking distant planet where you can get this shit done. If you're going to make a game around white nationalism, which, by the way, when people go to white nationalist rallies and then their pictures are posted online, they get fired from work. Because people and companies don't want to deal with this shit. So if you're one of these people who's like, wah, I can't put out my white nationalist ideas, fuck you. Fuck you. Go somewhere else because we don't want it here. That's all I got to say. I am not like... honestly, like, Ro is far more elegant about this than Tricky and I, but I'm just tired of seeing this shit on the TV. I'm tired of hearing people basically think that these ideas are okay. I'm tired of it, and I'm sure that Ro is too. I'm sure we all are. I'm less eloquent about telling people to fuck off than she is.
I have to be so that I don't come off as an angry black woman.
I will amplify that. If you want to, if you want to throw out some F-bombs there, I will amplify it for you. I don't care, because people deserve to be angry about this kind of shit. They deserve to be angry, and you shouldn't feel like that kind of censorship where you have to, and I'm not saying you're hiding how you truly feel, but the fact that you feel like, or anybody would feel like, I have to kind of tamp down how I feel and watch my words is bullshit. Because it's something we should all be angry about, and we should all get behind this swell of take your white nationalism and shove it up your ass because I don't want it here. Move somewhere else. I don't want it in the streets of America. I don't want it anywhere in America. Go fuck yourself.
I think we can end the show on that note. So, at this time, we're going to move to our shout-outs. Yield, we'll start with you.
Shout out to Ro for coming on. Shout out to Alex and Tricky for recording tonight. Shout out to Nitro for some Zombie Army. Well, Nitro and the Brain 76 for some Zombie Army 4. Shout out to everybody who was hanging out in the Twitch chat. That's it.
Alex, your shout-outs?
Well, I want to give shout out, of course, to the community, the listeners, the fuel to the fire of this trip yours, which without them, this show does not exist. And, you know, a lot of the positivity we've had around our recent episodes have been having members of the community on, you know, not just people who are experts in the field and who work in, you know, video game journalism or video games itself, but also, you know, just our community. People love that stuff and they love hearing their opinions and their expertise and their take on things. So we love our community. Thank you all very much for everything you do for us, because as much as, you know, we like to think that we give to you all, we wanted you to know that you give to us as well. So that is amazing. Thank you for your continued support. Give a shout out to Tricky and to Yield, as well as Ro, who again brings a very just a plethora of expertise on the video game industry, and just your very level-headed take when Tricky and I are about ready to just scream into a microphone about how much we hate this or how much we hate that. Your more level-headed take, I think, is an approach that we need more of in the world. Don't get me wrong. Let's be angry about shit, and let's let everyone know we're angry about shit. But the ability to kind of sit down and talk about it more calmly is kind of a superpower at this point. So I definitely have a lot of respect for your take on things, which is kind of saying the same things that we are, just in a far more civil manner. So thank you for coming on. And last but not least, I'm gonna give a shout out to my awesome and loving girlfriend Ashley, who helped me. We're slowly but surely getting all the Halloween decorations up, so it's gonna be a fun season, and very much looking forward to the spooky season coming up, and watching some horror, you know, television shows, some thrillers, some horror movies. So it's gonna be a good time.
You brought up decorations, so I'm just gonna say this before I let Ro do her shout-outs. This is my personal opinion, and I don't want anybody else to feel this way, but if you're putting up your Christmas decorations already, go fuck yourself. Let the Halloween and Thanksgiving happen before you put up the Christmas decorations. And you know who I'm talking. The person who I'm talking about knows who they are. I'm not going to name them and shame them. Ro, you're shouting.
Haven't you shamed that person already? Like, haven't you tried to throw shade at that person in the last few episodes in some form or fashion?
No, this is a recent development that I was told that they forced their significant other up in the attic to go bring down their Christmas decorations and have already put up their Christmas tree.
Tricky,
Hey, some people really like Christmas.
Tricky, you gonna be that old man who's like going into At Home or like some other store and scream, or Home Depot, and screaming at them when they have the Christmas decorations out?
No. I have
in like July or August.
No, I have no problem people buying Christmas decorations. Do your thing. Buy your decorations. But Christmas decorations do not go up until Black Friday.
But if it's like inside their home and you don't have to see it, like what's wrong with that? What's the problem there?
I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to further dig my hole, because I'm digging a hole right now. Ro, your shout-outs, dear.
Tricky's got a hot take.
He recognized he's digging himself into a hole.
Oh, I know I'm digging myself a hole. That's why I clearly said this is not a reflection on anybody else on this show. Because, and just to be clear, the person you think that I'm talking about is not the person I'm talking about. So, Alex, I'm not talking about...
you know who.
He who shall not be named. You know what? I'll tell you this. The Last of Us hater is not who I'm talking about. We'll leave it at that.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Oh, I thought he was doing that to signify. Ro, third time, your shout-outs, dear.
So first and foremost, shout out to the community. Like, just I love gamers and I love people who enjoy games. So thank you so much for joining all of us for this podcast. Thank you guys for always inviting me to be on the show. I love, love, love talking about games and with you guys and getting your opinions and hearing your thoughts, because I think it's really interesting to actually hear directly from folks what they feel and how they think about things as opposed to inferring. So thank you for letting me come and crash your space and take up space and have a good time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And anytime you want to have me back, just holler, because I can talk about games all the live long day.
Holler. You can come on every single week. I don't care. Every single week. Because then hopefully maybe we'll pull you away from the evil empire that's Microsoft and show you the real light side.
You're so funny. You're
That
so
is
cute. Oh my God, I
PlayStation.
love you. Oh my God, I love you so much.
See, this was your perfect opportunity, Tricky, to tell her that she does not know the power of the dark side, but you blew it.
No, she knows the power of the dark side. That's why she's on the dark side.
We have cookies.
We do have cookies. They're really yummy.
Yeah, but the problem with your cookies
There's no problem with my cookies.
is that none of them are exclusive.
I have cookies. I'm good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Tricky is one of the people that's still touting the fanboy wars. He's still
Listen.
definitely flying the PlayStation flag, and I bet Tricky goes like how he spends his evenings. Like he'll go onto message boards and start a flame war and start telling everybody how PlayStation is best, Xbox sucks, Rafflecopter, all the dumb things he's writing there on message boards. Tricky, did you ever go on message boards and defend? I guess it would be done over Twitter now, but did you ever go to message boards and defend Sony? Try to put on your armor, get on your horse, and go to joust for Sony?
No, because I make it a point not to argue with idiots.
You're right. We just drag you down to our level and beat you with experience.
I want to give a shout out to everybody in the Twitch chat. Felicia, Black Chaos, Nitro, anybody else that popped in. I always say to myself, I'm gonna write down the names of the people in the chat so I can make sure I nail, and I always forget to do that. Shout out to Sweet Mama D, who makes me feel old. And
Because you are.
Hey, just remember one thing, Yield. No matter
What's that?
no matter how old I get,
Yeah,
you will always be older.
that's all right. I'm also wiser.
I don't know about that.
Hey, you opened the door. I just walked through it.
Mm-hmm. Listen, Miss 20-year-old. Okay.
What are you talking about? I'm older than you.
No, you're barely like 21, 22.
And
Bless your heart.
Definitely wiser than Tricky.
I want to give a special shout out to Ro, who keeps me centered, deals with my ignorance, and I've had conversations with Ro on a couple different topics where I was able to ask questions that I should not have been able to ask, and she did not take offense to it. She did not, hold it against me, and she, told me straight out, like, this is where you're wrong, this is where you're right, and no, we're not just talking about video games, because I will never agree that Xbox is better. But
I never said that.
I know you never just said that. But I want to give a special shout out to Ro because I've known Ro for many years. She's always been there for me whenever I needed her to talk to her. We had a conversation just recently when I felt like one of the people in our community was saying the wrong thing. So instead of arguing with that person, I went straight to the source, said, hey, what's the reality of this situation? And I think we talked like 45 minutes over something simple. But like I got a better understanding. And it turns out I was right. Just putting it out there. But yes, special shout out to Ro. Thank you everybody who has sent me birthday messages already. I appreciate that. By the time the show comes out, my birthday would have come and passed. So thank you very much for anybody that has sent me a message in the future. And if there's nothing else, until next week, happy
Records.